We're on. Okay.
Oh, wait, just one moment. We just have to make sure that we're actually recording, so.
I got it.
We'll let you know.
There we go.
Thank you.
Good evening. This is the November meeting for the Lacey Historical Commission. And we're going to do to start off with here is just do a quick review of who's here. I'll start with folks inside the room. The meeting room. So why don't you go ahead and lead us off, Jen, and we'll just work our way around the table there and then.
Okay. Yep, I was just trying to get everybody on camera here. Oh, there we are. There's Commissioner Halverson. Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm Jen Burbidge, Director of Parks, Culture, and Recreation for the City of Lacey.
I'm at home in county.
Kevin Wyckoff, Vice Chair of the Commission.
John Halverson, member of the commission.
Jenny Wilson, I'm a parks planner for the department.
And why don't we go around, Alan, if you could intro yourself.
Alan?
Hello.
We can see your legs, but not your face.
Kimberly, why don't you go ahead while he's getting this camera straightened out.
Sure. Hi, Kimberly Getz, commission member.
Alan, we're back to you.
There you are.
Yep, there he is.
And we aren't able to hear you.
Yeah, you're a bit faint.
Well, while he's working on that, this is Commissioner Tyler. So. Thank you.
And we'll go ahead and so to start off the meeting, I'm going to read the land acknowledgement, which we are now using at Lacey meetings, in which we voted on and looked at last time at our meeting. The Lacey Historical Commission meets on the ancestral land of the tribal people of the Treaty of Medicine Creek, including the Nisqually Indian tribe and the Squaxin Island tribe. We acknowledge and remember those tribal people not recognized today, who were absorbed or relocated to other tribes for survival. We recognize their ancestors and their descendants who are still the ancestors and their descendants who are still here. We recognize and respect the tribal people of the Treaty of Medicine Creek as the traditional stewards of this land since time immemorial, and their role today in taking care of these lands in perpetuity. We recognize and have responsibility to call attention to the histories of dispossession, forest removal, and abridged treaty rights that allowed our nation, state, and city to develop as they have today. We recommend that community members read the Medicine Creek Treaty of 1854, and we have a link to that in our agenda. With that, I will move on to the approval of the agenda and minutes, and we'll start out with the approval of the agenda. Before we start that discussion, I wanted to suggest a couple of items. One was to make sure that and these are going to be respectively under item 4, or actually it's 5.
No, it's 4. It's 4.
Pardon me?
4.
Is it 4?
Business.
No, public account comments number 4.
So it'd be 5.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right.
So in 5, and one of those items that I would like to suggest adding is that we discuss whether we're going to hold our December meeting. Currently that would land on December 20th, which is just a couple of days before Christmas. The second question that I'd like to put up for discussion at that time is a discussion about whether we want to keep our meeting time at 6 o'clock or perhaps consider moving it to 5:30. So we can talk about each of those at that point if we want to add those discussions to the agenda. And in order to do that, I need a motion.
I'll move the amended agenda.
I'll second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The agenda has been amended. Let's from there move on to approval of the October 18th meeting minutes, which I know came in your packet, and I'm interested in knowing if people have any comments or thoughts on those regards. Are there any suggested amendments to the or changes to the minutes for October 18th?
You guys have to act. I wasn't here.
Doesn't sound like it.
If there are no,
I'm-
go ahead.
I move we approve the minutes as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no opposition in that regard, we have approved the minutes from October 18th. I think we're up to announcements now. Turn to you, Jen.
I don't have any announcements tonight. Thank you.
Outside of comments that people want to make later in the meeting, when we get to their reports, are there any other announcements people need to make? If not, we'll move on to public comment. Are there any either written public comments or anybody here who wants to make a public comment?
We do. Yeah, do you mind coming up here so we can hear you a little bit better? We'll let you take this seat so we can hear you in the microphone. Is that all right?
Yeah. My name is Cheryl Malkmus. Oh, where should I talk to?
We have people on the screen and in the room, so I usually just,
Anywhere.
yeah,
Okay.
anywhere is fine. Thank you.
Okay, and I'm here, I went to the Lacey Historical Society meeting last month, and I just was concerned because of the construction that's going on at the corner of Golf Club Pacific and Selma Streets. And my concern is to retain the Selma Street Southeast name when the construction is complete with Multicare in their project. I called City Hall and talked to someone there, and about not having the Selma name deleted in the road. And I was told there was a process to do so. And so the deal is that back in the day, in the 50s and 60s, the land was owned by W.B. Popkus, also known as Buster. And he wanted to build homes on the land that he owned there. And it was pretty much a field. And so to do that, the city said, oh gosh, there needs to be a road in there and it needs to have a name. And so with the road done, Buster named the road Selma for his wife. So there weren't any, just a few homes that were built on that particular piece of property. But Buster did build a lot of homes in Lacey, especially homes and duplexes down Slater Kinney and off of 17th Street, which is now 16th Street, and on Brunswick and Magnolia. He used a certain type of stone, which made his homes very distinctive, and if not the whole structure of the stone, at least a facade across the front of it. At this point, a lot of the homes have been replaced with panorama homes, and a lot of the owners have repainted over the stonework. time goes on, things change. But Buster and Selma were my neighbors when I moved next door in 1972. And they lived in half of the duplex that Buster had built. They rented the other side and they were snowbirds. And Buster died of heart attack in the early 70s when he was fishing in Chambers Lake. And Selma passed in the early 90s. But Selma told me that she recalls when Slater Kinney was simply tire tracks going south, and a longtime residents in the community. So my concern is I want to keep the street named Selma from becoming extinct. And so John Jaceks has been helpful and has been communicating with the city and has also reached out to Multicare. And so hopefully at least some portion of the street can be saved. The back part has already been fenced off and is, I don't know the technical term for it, but it's not going to be street all the way back like it used to be. So at least some portion of the street, I'm hopeful, can be saved. And so I came tonight just to let you know that I'm concerned about that. And I appreciate the help that I've gotten from John and his attempts to help communicate with Multicare and with staff here in the city. And hopefully we'll be able to save part of it. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So I'm looking at a map right now just for clarity for myself, because I didn't really know where Selma Street was. And it looks like it's running off of what, Pacific going north?
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
yes, it's if you look at the Multicare area, it's bordered on one side by Golf Club, Pacific, and the other street that goes past it where there's Multicare and then there's the veterinarian, that is Selma Street.
okay. So I wanted to make sure I had the right one.
And then just to confirm, we have your phone number and your email address for follow-up.
Well, no,
Can you leave us with your information so that we can follow up and city staff? Okay, perfect.
all right.
Let's see, it doesn't look like there's anybody else in City Hall, but let me check online. Do we have anybody who wants to provide public comment? Not community. And do we have any call-ins? It's like that's all for public comments, Chair.
Okay. So I guess my question, I don't know. I suppose we could get, for a future meeting, we could have some kind of report on what the plan is for that street name, or we could get a report, from somebody about that. Is that the appropriate follow-up in this case?
Yeah, if you'd like to have it on follow-up on a future agenda.
Okay.
Yep, is that that's something that the board would like? Yes.
Is it possible to get one of those brown historic street signs? Is that a possibility?
So we can definitely look into that. So, yep, we need to look into it and then have a future agenda item. So
John, what you're suggesting in that case would be rather than, if they rename it, they would also have a notification note there of what the old name was.
Yeah, it's on several streets already.
Right. That when you said that, that's what I thought of.
just have to double check the process for that.
Yeah, I don't know what it would be either.
And just to clarify, beyond the brown historic street name sign, what for lack of a better word, jurisdiction do we as a commission have other than that?
Right, so I'll need to like look into all that stuff. So if it's on a future agenda item, that's perfect, because then it could be, staff can present information and then the commission can, we can have a discussion about it.
Okay,
If it's not a city street, then, and Multicare owns it, I don't know. Whoever owns it, we would have to lobby them about whether they would be willing to have a.
It's still a city street.
If it's a city street, I think then the city has jurisdiction.
Well, yes, the city does, but what is, what
Our
jurisdiction do we, what's our role,
Commission,
right?
right?
It's not on a,
Oh,
we're not talking about something that's on a register or is being nominated to be on a register. So I just want to make sure that we're staying in our lane and not getting out beyond that. And maybe our role is, hey, city, the commission thinks this is a good idea. And we're going to make a recommendation. Maybe we have the authority to do that. But I want to make sure that we're not overstepping and getting into something that's, Public Works' arena, not us.
Yep, but, and that's,
briefing will answer that.
that's great to point out, and a briefing will absolutely answer that, so.
Yeah, because it hadn't occurred to me now, but actually now I'm really curious, where did those brown signs come from?
Yeah.
What is the process for initiating that?
Yep, and I apologize, it doesn't come up very often, so I don't know all of that off the top of my head, so I'm gonna have to just look into it, so.
Yeah.
Appreciate your patience.
My thinking was it had to be of some historical significance. And whether this one will qualify may be a question. So good to have a briefing on it.
Yeah, for sure.
sure. I'm sure this issue will come up again at some point. So not bad to learn about it. So there's nobody else, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so let's move down into agenda item 5, the 2024 work plan.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna pull this up on the screen here. And this is one that the commission was able to review at your last meeting and made suggestions. And so looking for a motion tonight to approve the 2024 work plan.
Are there any changes from what went out in our package?
No.
Good. I'm staring at it.
Yep, this is exactly what's in your packet. So I've got it up on the screen though, if anybody has questions about any of the items or comments. The one question that came up actually from Commissioner Halverson via email was regarding the Jacob Smith House plaque that the Lacey Historical Society had donated. That's something that could be added if the commission wanted to. But I bring that one up. And basically the delay is that we would need the Jacob Smith House to go on the historic register first. But it doesn't hurt to have that item on the work plan so that once that's done, it's there.
Okay, yeah,
So
that would be a good addition, I think.
if you'd like, we can add that in.
Please.
That require a motion?
So basically you would just approve as amended if that's the only change, or we can review any other changes as well. And then we would need a motion.
Well, I'll make a motion that we add the historic plaque. I'm not sure what word it's going to be. Is that the right word?
Jacob Smith House plaque,
Okay,
we were calling it.
Jacob Smith House plaque. I'll move that we add that to our historic properties section of the work plan.
And approve as amended, maybe? And approve the work plan as amended?
Correct. Yes, I can do that too.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 I
Aye. Alan, are you an aye?
Yes, I'm an aye.
He's an aye. Okay, any opposed? Hearing none, I think we've approved it. So that approves both the work plan and that amendment. So I think the next thing, do we have to approve the work plan and accomplishments from 2023, Jen, or is it simply a report?
It's just a report. So we're not looking for a motion for the 2023 accomplishments and work plan, but we did want to review it with you. And so basically, this is to really, capture the whole year as the 2023 and, what the board has accomplished. And then these materials, along with the 2024 work plan that you just adopted, those will go before the city council at your upcoming joint work session. There's an annual, for those of you that are new, an annual joint work session with the city council. And so this is kind of preparing for that meeting and wrapping up the year.
And that joint work session usually happens in February, correct?
It happens in February or March, and we actually have a date. It is March 26th.
Okay,
I have that in my report later. So I will be giving you that date one more time tonight. So yeah, let me share my screen with the information. So basically, the last time you updated the 2023 work plan was back in July. So what we want to do tonight is just capture any last changes that might need to be made. As you know, it gets approved, just like you just did for the next year tonight, but there are, revisions that take place regarding the status and the target date. Wouldn't necessarily add something new to the work plan mid-year, but there are little updates that happen. So we just want to make sure that we get our final copy prepared. So here it is. We'll look at the work plan first and then the accomplishments next. And you will see this one again. So again, this is a first look at this. I mean, you've seen the work plan all year, obviously. But we don't need a motion on this. So just any questions, comments? One thing that I would update is the budget request being put in for 2024. We should change that to budget request submitted and approved, since we know now that the budget requests have been approved. So those are some edits that we can make for your next round. And same for this one here. Budget request submitted and approved. We'll put 2024 here. I should probably add 2024 to these ones.
That's the McKinney House.
Mm-hmm. Research and develop a plan for the future of the McKinney House. Yep. Let's see, there's some down here. Oh, this one should be marked completed. It does say approved by city council. This is the comp plan. So we'll make some little edits there. But just like to see if you have anything. Oh, this is another one. I noticed this one today. Nisqually charitable funds. We weren't sure if we were going to apply for it. We did. Erin did end up applying for that.
okay.
So we'll change that wording to all commissioners and applied. Those are all the changes I noticed.
When do they make that decision?
They usually, I want to say it's by the end of the year, before the end of the
That's
year.
what I was thinking.
It's a pretty quick turnaround.
So does that mean the target completion date changes as well?
Oh, so I should let you know what the application was for. It was for the oral history project for some of the equipment, recording equipment and other equipment. And then to go toward outreach at events as well. So basically that's all that'll be on here regarding that one, is just that the application was submitted. That's all that'll happen this year on it. So, and then if we get the money, it will be used for the oral history project, which is a staff project that's already happening, so. So then, look at my notes here really quick. We have an accomplishments draft in the packet. Again, I want to thank Erin for putting this together. So she's got it nicely organized here. Items on the work plan that were accomplished in 2023. So the strategic plan was updated. Lacy Museum Cultural Center Funding Strategy Committee launched. Historical Commission went on a tour of the Lacy Museum and the new museum campus and the depot in September. Regarding Lacy History Month, the Historical Commission renamed the Historian of the Year award in honor of its founder, Ken Balsley. Selma Jackson was named the 2023 Ken Balsley Historian of the Year. Chair Keogh accepted the proclamation from City Council. And then under historic properties, there's listed the items that were completed. I don't know that I need to read them all. They were in your packet. I'm happy to read through them if you want me to. Then we have the rack kiosk. And then under other noteworthy accomplishments, the utility wrap project, you'll probably recall that coming before you in 2023. And then the acquisitions that our curator has brought forth all year.
I do have a question about acquisitions.
Sure.
At our last annual meeting of the Historical Society, John Donaldson, who's retired from Capital Development Corporation, asked if we knew anything about 4 boxes of materials that he had boxed up from the history of the Capital Development Corporation, and he thought donated to the city of Lacey. We wondered if they are in the city's possession or the Lacey Museum or where they are. So I don't know much about that other than he asked that question at our annual meeting.
Okay, so anybody with questions like that should go directly to Erin. If you have information, we're happy to reach out. She would probably ask what year that was and be able to look through the records. We keep really good records of all acquisitions and the museum collection, so something that would just need to be researched.
Okay, so you should have John, since he's the one that cares about that.
Have him contact Erin directly.
Contact Erin directly.
Yeah. So yeah, again, just looking for comments or questions. Again, we don't need action on this tonight, so if you want to chew on it and the next time when it gets onto your agenda, it will look familiar to you.
Okay. So we will then be approving those at our next meeting.
It'll be upcoming. So
Okay,
likely, I'm gonna say likely January.
okay.
Well, the theme was just up there is that some page or something I could find here?
Yes, I'll show you where.
Show me where it's at.
I'll show you where. Yep, absolutely. Well, these are, that's okay. I've been through the packet multiple times today, so.
Great,
These are the accomplishments from 2023.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, I think that's about all on that one, Chair.
Okay, just making a note to myself. So with that, we move on to our next action item, which is the election of chair and vice chair for the coming year. At our last meeting, I was the sole nominee so far to the chair position, and Kevin was the sole one to the vice chair. I guess what we're checking right now is if there's other nominations to start with. And that's what we'll open with. John, you got your hand up.
Yes, I move that we close the nomination and cast a unanimous ballot for Jim Code for chair.
Is there any discussion of that or another second?
Need a second?
Second,
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing nobody opposed, I guess I'm doing this next year.
Heck of a campaign, Jim. Way to go.
I know, I spent a lot of money on that, got a pack and everything. So let's move on to vice chair.
Well,
Need a motion?
Any other nominations?
has he been nominated already? Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
Why don't you call for nominations and then I'll make my vote.
Okay, a second.
Nominations have been closed already,
Oh,
with that last motion, so we just need a motion to elect.
I only elected one. So now I will move to close nominations for vice chair. You have to do them separately.
Okay.
I'm a parliamentarian.
Thank you.
So I'll move to close nominations for vice chair and cast the unanimous ballot for Kevin Wyckoff.
second,
Needs a second.
Is there,
Second.
we got a second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of electing Kevin for the 2024 vice chair position, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no opposition, Kevin, you're in.
Excellent.
Oh, yeah.
Way to go.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations to both of you.
With that, let's move on to our discussion about land acknowledgement follow-up. And this was mostly to talk about whether we talked at our last meeting briefly about whether we wanted to rotate who read it, how we avoid making it too performative, that type of thing. And so I'm just opening that discussion up for further conversation. And you can take a beef with how I read it, so that's okay too.
I thought it was fine the way you did it. Let's keep doing it. Works for me. That's part of the price of being reelected.
I think there was a thought, potentially of rotating it around to different commissioners to be able to read that
Right.
rather than just.
That was one of the things that was talked about at the last meeting.
I recommend that you delegate as chair, just pick someone and tell them ahead of time. So
Okay,
that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a good statement, but that is quite a mouthful to start things off, so.
it is that. I felt like I still could make some improvements.
And are there any thoughts about making it like personalizing it? I guess that would be up to the person reading it, right? If you want to add to make it less performative and have the person be able to give some personal thoughts around that if they so chose.
What's the origin of the words here? Who wrote them?
The city staff worked with the tribes. Let's see.
Okay, that sounds correct and right to me. So I'm not sure we should be ad-libbing with something the tribe has already approved.
Yeah. I thought the decision was made, frankly, between the two of them. It was agreed to and it was settled and that was it. And I voted against it and everybody said, fine, let's do it. So may as well do it. I don't see what else we could do with it.
See, the tribe provided the first draft wording to the Nisqually tribe provided the first draft to city staff. City added further language. The Nisqually tribe and the Squaxin Island tribe reviewed and provided feedback. Commission on Equity spent several of their meetings over the last couple of years reviewing the language and policy. Community Relations and Public Affairs Committee and council reviewed and approved it on July 3rd. And then it was presented to council in July, and then council finally approved it in September of this year. Just give you the brief rundown, so.
So
I would recommend we not change it, not ad lib it, and just take turns reading it
okay,
at the discretion of the chair.
and I can rotate that around people. Nothing else, I can put it on a wheel and spin it. But I'll let you know ahead of time so you have a chance to prepare, which I think is a good recommendation. So, is that the sense of the committee, the commission? If so, that's what I will probably go ahead and do, and we'll see how that works. Okay, no comments? That's what we'll try. So let's move on to the next couple of things. The first thing is the December agenda. Not agenda, but December meeting date and whether we want to hold a meeting in December or not. The first question that I raised with Jen and staff was how necessary our December meeting was and whether we want to try to hold it on December 20th, move it forward to December 13th, or just head for January. And so Jen, what I passed to you is the question of what needs to be dealt with when.
Yeah, so city staff have taken a look and we can do all the business we need to do in January if you all decide to cancel the December 20th meeting.
I move we cancel the December 20th meeting of the Lacey Historical Commission.
Second.
Any discussion of that? If not hearing any, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You're giving up a chance at a party here. So it sounds like we will wait until January to hold our next meeting then. So then let's move on to the next question, which was the question of meeting times and whether we wanted to change our current meeting time of 6 o'clock to 5:30. Kind of what people's thoughts are in that regard.
Well, if I can chime in, I would be an absolute no to that. I can barely make it here by 6. So
Yeah, I concur with that. Commuting from Lakewood to Lacey, that's a tall order.
I concur. Need a little break time before we start.
No, I'm not hearing much sign of wanting to move towards 6 to 5:30. So I guess I would entertain a motion to either, unless you want to adjust it some other time, to just keep the meeting time as it is presently, unless you want to propose a different time.
Oh, yeah, and you wouldn't necessarily need a motion if you're not changing it.
Right.
Just
Okay.
throwing that out there. You can if you want.
Okay, so it doesn't sound like there's any much movement inside the commission to move it to 5:30. So are we all satisfied pretty much at the 6 o'clock time? Does that work for everyone?
Yes.
6
Okay,
o'clock meeting time still works for you for next year?
6 or 5:30, it makes no difference to me.
Okay. All right.
Alan, Kimberly, any comments?
So I'm fine with 6 o'clock.
Kim already said she can't do 6.
Okay.
Or
And
it's
Alan
5:30.
said- and Alan just said he's fine with 6 as well. So let's stick with that as is. And from there, I think we move to the reports. Lacey Historical Society first.
Good evening, Commissioner. Commission members, I'm Peggy McHugh, and I am with the Lacey Historical Society. I'm here to report that we had our annual meeting, October 24th. We had probably approximately 30-40 people. Had a great committee that got it all set up, and we just strictly had coffee and cake. We had a business meeting. We are a reorganizing group at this time because Lacey Historical Society had met for 2 or 3 years. There was enough interest in committee and community members and some of the original members that did not want to see it die. So onward and upward, we worked on bylaws, a little bit of the finances, what we had in records or storage, we pursued, and we did elect officers. And trustees. So starting in January, all the new people will come on board. Our last board meeting was Tuesday. And some good thoughts, planning were developed at that time. People are gung-ho to keep it going. So we'll try and work on a little bit of publicity and do a little bit outside in the community and have some plans accordingly. And I'm pleased to be able to serve at this time. I moved in the Lacey area in probably 61 and lived on Alpha Street. And at that time, Panorama City was a golf course. So I'm kind of an old timer, but not quite. My husband was a school teacher here in the district and he served as a trustee. He has passed away and I thought, well, okay, Mr. Denny, I'll help out, see what we can do to keep it going. So, and we're open to suggestions, ideas from the community and trying to pursue the proper way to do that and get some people involved. We've had some contacts, so onward and upward. So thank you for your time. And I know we'll be in touch with the commission.
I could add 2 items. One, we want to thank Jim Keogh, who came to that annual meeting and joined our society. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. And secondly, in the election that night, Cynthia Jo Pratt, former deputy mayor of this group, is going to be the vice president next time around for the next 2 years. Unfortunately for the people in the room, I was reelected for the next 2 years as president. So they just have to put up with me, right, Peggy?
Do a good job, and it's teamwork all the way, right?
Right.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you, Peggy.
So Kimberly, are you the person on the policy step committee?
I am indeed.
And is there anything to report there?
We are still on hiatus. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. While we've got you on camera, Kimberly, you might as well have you report first as we do our commissioner reports.
Easy peasy. I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Okay. Alan, why don't we have you report next?
We still don't have audio on you, Commissioner Tyler.
I have nothing to report.
Okay.
Oh, nothing to report. I heard it.
Okay, Ed, why don't you go ahead and give your report?
I have nothing to report on.
Kevin?
I have nothing to report as well.
John?
Well, I don't have too much to report, although I had a quick conversation with Mayor Andy Ryder. And while I was not as excited about the McKinley House, as you may have heard me say on our tour, I found out that the mayor is really keen on getting that refixed up. So I guess I've been overruled here.
Why? Can you tell us why?
He did. It's the last structure of the era when Lacey was a resort community with all the resorts. And
Yeah.
it was a cafe, and a lot of folks that went on the various lakes and so on would end up coming to that location. So he's keen on us restoring it. And when I read the minutes that he's acted on that in getting it into the city's budget. So I guess it's time for me to not be lobbying
Yes.
against it. My thought was the money to be put towards the Lacey Museum. That's my mission. That's what I'm for. I didn't think rehabbing the McKinley building was probably the wisest investment, but I've been straightened out on that.
Where is McKinley House?
What?
Where is it?
Right across from the Lacey Community Center, it's that little old
There's a
building.
little building there, you wouldn't even wanna go in it really, but
It's built in the 1930s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've lived in houses a lot older than that.
Anyway, that's my report. The mayor wants it.
Oh, there's still a lot of work to be done there, John. So with that, I guess I will do my report. Not a ton to report. I did go to the Lacey Historical Society. It was a good meeting, great attendance and good speakers. So it was an interesting set. Other than that, it sounds like the RAC kiosk is still going forward. And they're hoping to have most of the pieces in place, at least in terms of their editing and design, by probably early mid-spring is what I'm hearing from folks there. And then I'm continuing to do some volunteering work at on the Lacey Leader Project, and mostly at this point kind of stringing out some of the last of at least the box of photos and negatives I'm currently working on. I continue to find that interesting, and every so often I catch something that didn't know about, or that whether it was either a typo or we didn't get enough context, and so it's kind of a fun detective act at times. So anyway, continue to work on that. That's what I pretty much have to note at this point. I'm assuming, Jen, that you're doing both the curator and the director reports.
Yes, I am. For the museum curator, Erin wanted you to know that Olivia Moore was hired as the museum intern and will be working at the museum with Felicia on giving tours, planning summer programs, and updating exhibits. So we're super grateful to have her on board. The November history talk on the history of the Nisqually Wildlife Refuge was well attended with 66 participants. Erin has been helping to fill in for some of the executive assistant duties, as Jenny has, she's here as well, while the position is being recruited for. Staff are making progress with the Stories of the South Sound Oral History Project. They put together a marketing schedule and have been working on preparing promotional materials. A release form has been drafted. So that was the museum curator report.
Okay.
So the oral histories, actual interviews will be happening in the next year, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And she'll keep you updated with that project.
You know, we discussed that briefly at our board meeting yesterday. We have a couple of candidates we think would be really good to be interviewed. So Jack Holman's one of them.
Okay.
His father was the first mayor.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Great.
He recently moved into assisted living, so it's time to move on the subject. We want to get it.
And that's one of the ones that you'd like to suggest for the city's
Yeah,
project.
he knows a lot of history.
Okay,
son of the first mayor. He has all of his dad's papers and books, his mom's. She was also very important to the history of Lacey.
did you say you had 2 recommendations?
I don't want to speak about the other one
Okay.
until we.
Okay.
Till the board decides, but.
Thanks. And then the director's report, so we did have our museum and cultural center funding strategy committee on October 26th. And both Commissioner Keough or Chair Keough and Commissioner Halverson were there. We defined the roles between the committee, champions and volunteers, community partners, donors, sponsors, and memberships to ensure that the strategy committee is all on the same page as we move forward. So that was a very valuable discussion. We reviewed the funding opportunities and buckets, and we're currently looking into taking a deep dive into a Department of Commerce Economic Development Administration grant that Chair Keough brought forth as a potential. Preliminarily, we don't believe that we qualify to apply, but we're gonna email everything we think to the regional director and see if she has any comments on that. So we made assignments at that meeting, and then our next meeting is January 11th. So just a quick report out on that. I mentioned earlier the joint work session for the Historical Commission and the Lacey City Council is confirmed for March 26th at 6:00 p.m. Something different is for this year is that the Parks Board is going to be there on the same night as the Historical Commission. So I'm pretty excited about this because both boards are in, you know, our department. And so they won't be all combined. It'll be one commission and then the next. But I think it'll be really beneficial for both of those commissions to hear the others report out with the joint work session with the city council. So as we get closer, we'll have, you know, distinct times assigned for the agenda, but want to make sure everybody gets that on their calendar early. And you might have noticed that it's a Tuesday night. I don't know, maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But the city council meetings and work sessions starting in 2024 are going to move from Thursday nights to Tuesday nights. This is a huge change for Lacey. You can see the look on your face. It's interesting, the other cities meet on Tuesday nights. So Lacey's been the only one on Thursday nights. It does make it a little bit challenging for, you know, coordinating the councils when that sort of regional stuff is needed. But anyway, it's been a discussion in progress, and council did decide to make that change, so.
Okay.
Our next meeting is January 17th, is that right?
That would be correct. I was just looking that up. 17th.
The third, that's the third Wednesday?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
I looked aghast because I just got done asking for Tuesday meetings of the Lacey Historical Society
Oh,
at the fire station all year, all next year. That may not be a good move,
oh,
but we'll see.
yeah, it's tough coordinating the schedules.
Yes. No problem.
Okay, and then I just wanted to report real quickly that the executive assistant recruitment is still open. So if anybody knows of someone who might be interested, it closes November 30th, so we still have a couple of weeks. And then we have interviews we'll have in December, probably the second week of December, so excited to get someone in to fill, you know, as you know, Sarah Smith left October 27th, so it'd be nice to have that new person in the door. And yeah, we just covered the next meeting date, so January 17th, and that's all I have.
Okay. So let's see. Yes, our next meeting will now be based on our previous vote on January 17th at 6 p.m. We've got an upcoming event on December 12th. This is noted on the agenda. It's our next talk. It's the one on the Hudson Bay Company's, the company leader, William Fraser Tomey, at Fort Nisqually, and he was the leader at Fort Nisqually. So that will be on Tuesday, December 12th at 6:30. So just make note of that. I have been attending these and have found them quite interesting, and in several cases, sort of some fun discussion items, even just in terms of pieces of history that I hadn't heard before, even with regard to how Lacey got founded. And so we had a couple of interesting ones. The fire department discussion that we had back in September was quite fun in that regard. So I definitely recommend those if you can possibly watch them either on Zoom or by being there in person, but they've been very good. If there is no further business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I'm
Any opposed? I think we are officially adjourned. Thank you all.
Happy holidays. We'll see you next year.
goodbye.
Yes.
Gonna be